Not all heroes wear uniforms. Some just carry a tray and wear tired shoes. Mira was one of those people. It was another long, rainy evening. Mira moved from table to table in a busy roadside restaurant, her apron slightly stained, her eyes dull from worry. Rent was overdue. Her mom needed medicine. The landlord had sent another message that morning: pay or leave. But there she was, still on her feet, still serving with a tired smile. She placed 2 plates on a couple's table and turned to head back. That's when she saw something that made her stop. A little boy sitting alone on a wooden bench outside, directly under the heavy rain. His back was straight, his face down. His small hands gripped a white cane tightly across his lap. "Who's that kid out there?" she asked the cashier, voice trembling. The woman barely glanced up. "Her name's Rita," the cashier said, glancing out. "The boy came in with a man. The man left, didn't say much." "In the rain?" "Guess so." Mira didn't say anything else. She moved toward the glass door, paused a second, then rushed out without a second thought. The rain soaked through her apron as she reached him. She knelt beside the boy. "Sweetheart, come inside. You'll catch a cold out here." The boy didn't speak at first. Then, softly, "Dad said he had a meeting. Told me to wait." Mira took his hand gently. "Okay, but you can wait somewhere warm, yeah?" He stood, carefully. She led him inside. Mira guided him to a booth by the window. Customers looked over but said nothing. She grabbed a napkin, wiped his wet face and hands. He stayed quiet, patient, but cold. "I'm Mira," she said softly. "I'm Eli. You hungry, Eli?" He hesitated, then nodded. Mira went to the kitchen, scooped the last plate of hot jollof rice meant for a late order. She carried it out, heart pounding, unsure if the manager would notice. Across the street, inside a black car, Eli's father Daniel was glued to his laptop, headset on, eyes fixed on a Zoom call with investors. He didn't hear the rain, didn't feel the thunder that cracked through the sky, didn't know his son was outside in the storm, until the thunder hit louder than before. Daniel looked up. The bench was empty. He searched frantically. Then he saw it, through the restaurant glass, a young woman kneeling beside Eli, feeding him spoonfuls of food with gentle care. Daniel entered, soaked. Mira looked up, startled. Eli smiled slightly. "Dad," he said. Daniel walked over, knelt beside his son. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I should never have left you out there." "It's okay," Eli said, voice small. Daniel turned to Mira. "Thank you, truly." Mira shook her head. "I only did what anyone should." Daniel blinked. Not everyone would. Later that night, Mira sat on her old mattress in a room dimly lit by a flickering bulb. She was soaked, cold, and still broke. But she thought of Eli's face, his soft, "Thank you, ma'am," and smiled faintly. Somehow, it was enough. Daniel returned home, but it didn't feel like home. The house was too quiet, too clean, too cold. He sat down on the edge of his leather couch, staring at nothing. The sound of rain still echoed in his head, not from outside, but from earlier, from guilt. He pulled out his phone and called his driver. "Yes, sir," the man answered. "There's a waitress, the one from the restaurant near the junction." "Sir, her name's Mira. I want to know more about her, where she lives, who she is," quietly. "Understood, sir. I'll handle it." Daniel hung up, still thinking of the way Mira had held his son's hand, not out of duty, but out of something else. Something he had forgotten existed. Mira sat cross-legged, her hands around a chipped mug of warm water. No sugar, no tea, but still warm. She looked around at the tiny room she called home. The curtain barely covered the window. The fan made clicking noises every 5 seconds. Her eyes fell on the envelope the landlord had left earlier. But her mind kept going back to Eli, to his soaked clothes, his soft voice, the way he smiled when she fed him. She whispered, "I don't have much, but I gave what I could." Then she curled up, eyes heavy, holding on to one thought. "I did something good today." The next morning, Mira woke up before the sun. Her tiny room was still dark. A rooster crowed in the distance, She stretched slowly, her body sore from yesterday's work. As she reached for her slippers, her phone buzzed on the floor. It was a message from the landlord. Again. Final notice. I want my rent today. Mira sighed. There was nothing to give. She leaned back, hands over her face. Then she remembered the boy. Eli. His shy smile. His quiet, "Thank you." It brought a little warmth to her chest. She got ready for work, tied her apron, and left the house with her head held high. Across town, Daniel sat behind his big glass desk. The office was spotless, cold, like always. But he wasn't thinking about money. He wasn't thinking about business. He was thinking about a woman. A waitress who wiped his son's face with care. He picked up his phone and dialed. "Driver," he said. "Did you find her?" "Yes, sir. Her name is Mira. Lives in a small room near the old train station. Works double shifts at the restaurant." Daniel nodded. "Thank you. Don't tell her anything yet." That afternoon, Mira served food without rest. She barely smiled. Her feet hurt, but she kept going. At one point, Rita, the cashier, leaned over and whispered, "Someone's asking about you." Mira's heart skipped. "Who?" "A man in a black car. He didn't say much, just asked your name." Mira frowned. "Did he say what he wanted?" Just looked around and left. She paused for a second, then went back to work. No time to worry. Too many plates to carry. Too many bills to pay. Back in his home, Daniel watched Eli sleep. His small chest rose and fell with each breath. Daniel sat by the door, silent. He thought about the past, about the wife he lost, about how far he'd drifted from his son. His heart felt full and empty at the same time. Then, without thinking, he stood and walked to the living room. He opened a drawer, pulled out an envelope, and began to write. Mira was sweeping outside when she heard a knock. She turned and saw Daniel. She froze. "Sir?" she asked, confused. Daniel smiled gently. "I hope I'm not disturbing you." "No, not at all. Please come in." Daniel stepped inside. The room was small, clean, but clearly worn down by time. "I wanted to thank you," he said, "for what you did for Eli." Mira looked down. It was nothing. Number "it" meant everything. He placed the envelope on the table. Mira looked at it, unsure. "Please open it." She did. Her hands shook. Inside, a letter. A job offer. She looked up at him in shock. "You want me to work for you?" "Yes," Daniel said. "As my human relations assistant. A full salary, a place to stay, no more rent problems." Mira didn't speak. She just stared, lips trembling. "I see something in you, Mira," Daniel continued. "Kindness. People need that. My company needs that." Tears filled her eyes. She nodded slowly. "Think about it," he said. "If you're ready, my driver will come tomorrow." The next morning, Mira stood outside a tall glass building. Her heart thudded in her chest. She held her bag tight. Her clothes were simple but neat. Her hands trembled slightly. The driver opened the door. "He's waiting inside," he said. Mira nodded and stepped forward. Inside, the office buzzed with movement. People in suits walked quickly, holding files, talking on phones. It was nothing like the restaurant. It was sharp, cold, and fast. But Mira kept walking. At the top floor, Daniel stood waiting near the glass doors of his office. When he saw her, he smiled softly. "You came," he said. "Yes," Mira replied, trying to breathe steady. "Come, let me show you around." They walked together. Heads turned. Some people whispered. Some just stared. Mira noticed it. So did Daniel. He stopped walking. "You don't have to prove anything to them," he said. "Just be yourself. That's enough." Mira nodded. He led her into her new office. It wasn't big, but it was bright, clean, a fresh start. That afternoon, she sat at her desk, organizing files and reading through company notes. She didn't understand everything yet, but she was learning, one page at a time. Later that week, Daniel knocked on her door. "There's a board meeting," he said. "I'd like you to join me." Mira froze. "Me? You'll be fine. Just speak from the heart, like you did that day." She followed him to the boardroom. The long table was filled with serious faces, men in suits. Some looked confused to see her. One man even frowned. "Why is she here?" someone whispered. Mira heard it. Her hands tightened, but she didn't turn back. The meeting began. Voices raised. Ideas clashed. Then Daniel stood and said, "Mira, would you like to share something?" The room went quiet. Mira stood slowly. Her voice was soft at first. "I don't know many big business terms, but I know people." Some board members shifted in their seats. She continued, "People work better when they feel seen, when they feel respected. If we treat our workers like they matter, the company will grow." Someone scoffed quietly. "It's not that simple." "Maybe," she said. "But maybe that's why things haven't worked. Maybe we've made it too hard." Silence fell. Then one of the older men nodded slowly. "She's right." Others followed. Slowly, heads turned. The tone of the room changed. Daniel watched from his seat. His face was calm, but his eyes were proud. After the meeting, Mira returned to her office. She sat down, heart still racing. Then she smiled to herself. She had spoken. She had been heard. But not everyone was happy. Frank, one of the board members, stood by his window watching her through the glass. "She won them over with a speech," he said to himself. He didn't smile. "She just got here, and already she's turning heads." He turned to his desk and opened a file. At the top he wrote, "Mira, watch list." The office felt different the next morning. Mira walked in early, holding a small notebook and a bottle of water. She greeted the receptionist, smiled at a few staff members, and headed to her office. People nodded politely, but not all of them looked happy. Frank watched from the end of the hallway. His eyes followed her like a shadow. He sipped his coffee slowly and turned away. Back in her office, Mira opened her notebook and began writing notes for the staff meeting later that day. Daniel had asked her to speak briefly about team morale and communication. She wanted to keep it simple, just honest words from the heart. Daniel looked out the window as Mira's reflection moved past the glass wall. "She's doing well," he said to himself. He remembered the first time he saw her, soaked in the rain, helping Eli. That memory stayed with him. There was a knock. Frank stepped in, holding a file. "Morning, Daniel." "Frank, I heard you've given Mira more responsibility," he said, his tone flat. "Yes, she's earned it. She's new. She's also different," Daniel replied. Frank gave a short nod and placed the file on the desk. "Just be careful," he said. "Not everyone likes change." That evening, most of the staff had gone home. Mira stayed back, organizing the next day's presentation. Her back hurt, but she kept working. Just then, there was a soft knock. It was Frank. "Oh, good evening, sir," she said politely. "Evening. Can I use your computer for a second? Mine's acting up." "Sure," Mira replied, stepping aside. Frank moved quickly. He plugged in a flash drive and tapped a few keys. "All done," he said, after less than a minute. "Thanks." "No problem," Mira said, not suspecting anything. Daniel sat in his office, brows furrowed. In front of him was a printout, a company document. Private, sensitive, leaked. He looked at the sender's name, Mira's email. He picked up the phone. "Ask Mira to come in." Mira walked in, her hands slightly shaking. "Sir?" Daniel pushed the document forward. "This email was sent 2 nights ago, from your system." Mira read it, her eyes wide with shock. "But I didn't send this. I swear." "I believe you," Daniel said. "But this is serious. The board already saw it." Mira's chest tightened. "What happens now?" "We'll find the truth," Daniel said firmly. "But you must stay quiet. No one else can know." Mira nodded. Her mind was racing. Who would do this? Why? Mira sat on her bed, holding her head in her hands. The day had drained her. Someone had framed her and she didn't know who, but she wasn't going to give up. "I won't let them push me out," she whispered. "Not like this." For the next few nights, Daniel and Mira stayed back after work. They went through emails, Office logs, camera reports. It was tiring. Mira barely slept. Then, one night, she paused. "Wait," she said, pointing to a screen. "This login. It matches the time the email was sent." Daniel leaned forward. "That's Frank's ID. And that's when he used my system," Mira whispered. "He asked to use my computer. I stepped out for a second." Daniel looked at her. "That's our link." Mira's hands trembled. "He planned it. From the start." Daniel stood. "We're taking this to the board, but carefully. If we move too fast, he'll cover it up." The boardroom was tense. All members present. The leaked file was on the table. The air was heavy. Daniel stood. "Before you decide anything, Mira would like to say something." Mira stepped forward. She took a breath. "I didn't send that email, but someone used my system. I can prove it." The board members leaned in. She placed documents on the table. "These logs show a login from Mr. Frank's ID at the same time the email was sent. He used my office that night." Frank stood. "Lies. She's trying to cover up her mistake." Daniel stood beside her. "The proof is clear. The system login, the flash drive access, it all points to you." One board member nodded. "It's true. The timestamps match." Frank's face changed. He looked around. No one supported him. "You tried to frame her," another said, "and failed." Daniel's voice turned cold. "You're dismissed. Leave now." Security stepped in. Frank was silent as he walked out. Mira exhaled. Her name was cleared. She had stood her ground. Daniel looked at her, pride in his eyes. "Well done." A few quiet weeks passed. Frank was gone. The office felt lighter, more open. People smiled more. Mira walked through the hallways with quiet confidence. She had earned it. Every evening, she stopped by Daniel's office to discuss the day. They laughed more now. The conversations drifted from work to life. Sometimes they talked about Eli. "He's been more cheerful," Daniel said one day. "He asks about you a lot." "I think about him too," Mira replied. One evening, Daniel brought Mira home. Eli waited near the door with a big smile on his face. "Mira!" he shouted. She knelt down and hugged him. "I missed you, champ." They spent the evening talking, eating together. Mira helped Eli with his Braille reading, correcting him gently when he stumbled. Daniel sat nearby, watching. There was laughter, real laughter, something Daniel hadn't heard in years. Later that night, after Eli went to bed, Daniel and Mira sat in the quiet living room. The lights were soft. A warm silence filled the space. "You changed my home," Daniel said. "I didn't do much." "No," he replied. "You did more than you know." He looked at her carefully. "Mira, I want to ask you something." She turned to face him, her eyes steady. "I've been thinking, what if we made this permanent? You, me, Eli, a family." Her eyes widened. She didn't speak right away. "Are you saying?" she began. "Yes," he said softly. "Will you marry me?" Mira's hands trembled. She looked down, then back at him. Her heart beat faster. I need time," she said gently. "This is big." Daniel nodded. "Take all the time you need. I'll wait." Mira lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. The question echoed in her mind. She thought of her past, the struggles, the long nights, the rain. Then she thought of Eli's smile, Daniel's kindness, and the way her heart felt lighter when she was near them. She closed her eyes and smiled. Daniel sat in his office reading a report. The door opened gently. Mira walked in holding a small envelope. She placed it on his table. "What's this?" he asked. "My answer." He opened it slowly. Inside was a small note. It read, "Yes." Daniel looked up. Mira was smiling. "You're sure?" "I am," she said. He stood, walked over, and hugged her. It wasn't rushed. It was full of meaning. Outside the window, the sun began to rise. That evening, the three of them sat around the dinner table. Eli laughed loudly at Mira's story. She helped him find his spoon while Daniel watched with a calm smile. Eli turned toward Daniel and asked, "Can I call her mom now?" Daniel looked at Mira. She nodded, eyes soft. "Yes," Daniel said. "You can." Eli grinned. "I've always wanted a mom." Days passing. Time moved on. Mira adjusted to her new role at the company. Her name carried weight now. Not because of her title, but because of how she treated people. Workers came to her with problems. She listened. She helped. Slowly, the company culture began to change. People cared more, worked better, because they felt seen. Daniel watched it unfold. He saw Mira's gift, her way of making people feel safe. One day, after a successful project meeting, Daniel turned to her. "This place feels different now," he said. Mira smiled. "Feels more human." He nodded. "That's because of you." That night, they took a walk. Just the two of them. The city lights twinkled above. They didn't talk much. They didn't need to. At one point, Mira stopped. "I was scared," she said. "Of trusting again. Of being needed." Daniel took her hand. "You're not alone anymore." And for the first time in her life, she believed it. And if you've got thoughts, feelings, or even your own story, drop it in the comments. I'm always reading, always listening. Thanks for being here. See you in the next one. If this story touched you even a little, don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel.